Welcome to the Startup Grind.
It's also the last one of this year, of 2017. Today is a very special event. First of all, we have two speakers. We've never had them before. And second of all, we have professional athletes coming up to the stage. And third of all, there are successful entrepreneurs at the same time. So I think there's a lot to hear and hear their story, how they managed to switch from being pro athletes to become entrepreneurs. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Peter and Martin Velits with a round of applause. I think the mic should be on. Yes. Good. There you go. Before we kick off with the first set of questions, I would like to thank our partners, namely Slovak Telecom and a successful blockchain company out of Slovakia, Exent. So please also a little clap for them. And before, at the end of our discussion, I will leave 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A. So we'll be using Slido, #SUGBA. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I'll set it from there. So thank you again, and gentlemen, we can start. All right. This is the first time I hear this headset, so it's kind of weird not to build anything. But thanks again for coming. It's a big. Well, thank you. First time that I'm talking to Tour de France athletes, and one of those things that you watch on TV, Eurosport, and now they sit here. So it's amazing.
Actually, I would like to say thank you. Thanks for the invitation. It's for us. It's a brand new experience because we used to be talking about how to ride a bike, how to ride the races. So this is completely different discussion, completely different things to talk about. So it's a great experience for us as well.
Hi everyone.
just to make a difference, this is Peter and that's Martin. Just for you guys to know. Okay, usually we start with the background, where you grew up, because we try to tell the whole story. So, gentlemen, if you could go ahead and tell your where you grew up, your childhood, etc.
Born in Bratislava in 1985. We lived here first 13 or 14 years, and then we moved up to Buchau, where we live now, to a small city. And,
What did you study at high school, for example?
we studied, I would say, high school, gymnasium.
Yeah, well, and then at 14 we started to ride a bike. We decided to try some racing. Like how it's gonna do. We always used to be active kids, like probably every kid used to be. We tried a couple of sports. We did even ice hockey. With my 65 kilos, it was quite fun in the beginning. So we tried that as well. But then in Buchau, actually they stopped with the ice rink. That they closed it because they didn't have the money for that. So our ice hockey career was not really long, and then we tried to do the racing, and
there was always a history in our family with cycling. The father was a cyclist, and an uncle was our first coach, and my father was the one that would always drive us to the races. So that's how we started.
Were they also competing on a professional level, or?
So it was like in the youth, from 14 to 18, 19, you do the races in Slovakia or Czech Republic, and then you do the junior national cups wherever in Europe. Then you do the world championships, and the biggest support always had to come from family.
So when was the first kind of success you saw with cycling? When did you know that you guys will go professional?
It's quite strange to talk about how successful it was, to be. Already when we started to race, we won a couple of races right from the beginning, so it definitely gave us the motivation to keep on going. And then when we were juniors, we were second and fourth in the World Cup, so there was some kind of motivation or future what we saw. But we kind of woke up pretty quickly from that because we thought at that age, we were second and fourth in the World Cup. And of course, some big professional team will come and give us the contract. Of course, nothing happened to the two Slovak kids. So we need to take the slight detour. We need to fly to South Africa, right in South Africa for 2 years, and then kind of build from really small team, from third division to the second, and then to the biggest team. So it was quite a procedure.
Peter had to be the world champion under 23 to be able to get a professional contract. So that's what really pushed us through the professional ranks, and then it's about doing your job and staying in the team.
As I remember, you were first in Germany with the German team.
Yes, that was the second division team. So the first one was actually the South African team, and that was the German team, and then one of the best teams or the highest category team was again the German, and then we stayed in the highest cycling for I did 9 years and Martin 10 years.
Was it the HDC?
No, that was the Milan. First was the Milan.
Okay. And I mean, again, like these are the guys that were cycling their whole life, and just watching on the TV, and then all of a sudden you hear, okay, I'm finishing my career and I'm becoming an entrepreneur. Was that something that you always wanted to do? Like, okay, one day you will finish with cycling, and what's next? Was that always an idea in your head?
Well, then there was, I won't lie, it was part of the motivation, like what are we going to do after the careers for our own existence, And but on the other hand, we didn't start to be entrepreneurs when we finished our careers. We started way before. Actually, we were into our 6th or 7th year of a professional cyclist when we started to feel a little bit like it's becoming a routine, and you kind of reach the potential as an athlete, and because of the physical abilities you have, it's not like you're going to train harder and then you're going to win more and more races. Everyone has his limits, and that somehow wasn't enough for us. And so we tried to look for like, okay, we have some time on our hands when we're not racing or training, so what are we going to do with that? That helps us in the future maybe to find our place in the world easier. So that's how we start to think what we want to do, if we're going to go back to study or try to do something like that besides, or are we going to try our own business.
And as I remember, your mom was, or like your parents, they also had they were entrepreneurs, right?
I mean, they had a bike shop for 17 years, I think. Actually, that was the reason why we moved from Bratislava to Bucho, because the parents, they had the opportunity to open the bike shop there, so that's why they did it. And so they always used to be entrepreneurs, but in a smaller scale, I would say. They were happy with the bike shop. They never really have any expansion plans, like to open more bike shops or anything. They were happy how it was working, and actually, right on the beginning when we started with this idea, like, let's do cycling clothing, the parents, they were not really, I wouldn't say happy, or they kind of like were a little...
Not really enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, exactly. Because they know how they were selling the cycling clothing in their shop, so they were kind of like, yeah, guys, are you sure it's a good idea? Don't you want to do something different? But when we started, actually mom was the first employee, of course, who else? So she was taking care of everything, and now she's still in the company, she's still there with us. So it's kind of, it was still in the family, and I think we kind of have in the genes as well that we would like to do something on our own, some business, create some business.
What do you think is the biggest kind of takeaway from the cycling career and applied in business? Do you see any correlation there?
I think cycling or sport in general, if you wanna really make something out of it, or you see it as a career, you really need to have the drive to do it, because you have all the time in the world for yourself. You can start training whenever you want. No one really watches you what you want to do, but it has to come within you that, okay, I want to go out when it's raining because I need to do this training or this workout. So for sure it has to be determination and perseverance, discipline, of course. So I think, and this is something I believe every entrepreneur needs, because you can do whatever you want with your time, because no one is really watching over your shoulder, but you have to, be motivated to get out of your bed and go to do your job.
It's like the teamwork, you know, in the mountains, like going up the hill, you have to pull together as a team, right? And
Yeah,
sometimes it's not working.
exactly. I think there is a lot of things which we kind of carry on from the cycling into the business, because like Martin said, the discipline, the things which always drives you, and you have these small successes along the way which kind of motivates you. Of course you have up and downs all the time, it's not like that you have one day without it. So, but all these small successes you have, it kind of like more and more motivates you, and it kind of brings me back into the past when we took the risk that we fly to South Africa, that we knew there is only like Johannesburg, the town, and that's it. We didn't know anything else, and it was quite a big risk. But the successes start to come, and that give you much more confidence and motivation, and it's actually almost the same in business as well.
And then, so after your career, you came back to Slovakia. You recently, who finished first? You did finish, and you, like last year or
this year? I still have a contract. Still 1 month.
2 jobs.
I stopped last year.
And so when was Isadore Apparel established?
2013. Yeah.
We went online in May 2013.
Yeah.
And you were still cyclist at the time. So how was that kind of starting a company and still being a pro cyclist? How was the start? Like, if you could tell us maybe the first day, the first months, and coping with the career.
We didn't really have an idea what we're doing. We thought, okay, like we're just gonna focus on the company in our free time, because there is still some free time for us, and I had some aesthetic opinions on how the cycle clothing should look like, and we knew what we would wear if we're not wearing the team clothing, and we thought like, okay, we're gonna pick a couple of colors, and then we're gonna try to put it online, but then we quickly realized that it takes much more than that.
It's like, on the beginning, to be honest, we were totally naive, like what is business, You kind of like, okay, let's try it, it's gonna be fun, and we always said like, yeah, cycling is still going to be the 100% where we're going to focus, and business is going to be the free time experience kind of. But since from the first day it kind of started pushing on each other. And really the beginning was like I said, Ma was the first employee. She was actually taking care of everything when we were on the races. And actually the hotel rooms on the races, they were our offices, like when Martin was on different race, I was on different race. We kind of, after every stage, we sit behind the computer, run all of the emails, and then you go race the next day. You do the same evening. So
but it was actually a good way, because we had to learn how to really work efficient, like everything, like staying connected between each other, and then with the team when it started to grow. So we really had to start using all the tools available, like put everything on the cloud, so everyone has the access to it, and then use Basecamp to that everyone has access to the projects that we are working on. So maybe for sure we would come to use these tools, but maybe not so quickly if we are 100% that we have some office space and we do it from home.
I guess like the basic business literature says, you have to talk to your customers, potential customers, before starting a business. And I guess being part of the peloton still, and kind of where you're checking out, like maybe you guys would like to buy some Isadore Apparel or something, because you were in the middle of your potential customer group. Did you try to bounce that idea with your pro colleagues? Actually, nobody knew that you guys are.
No, actually, at the beginning, nobody knew, because it was the idea when we started, and we never really wanted to put it like, okay, this is the Velits brothers clothing or anything like this. We wanted to create something which is going to live its own life, that it's going to be not dependent on us, but of course we proud standing behind the brand, and we said we are behind the brand, but it's not the first headline you're going to get from the website. And to be honest, like right from the beginning, like Martin also said, we didn't really want to create products for the really athletic people, for the people who race every weekend or need to have how many hours during the week. So we kind of wanted to create, or it was really kind of selfish on the beginning, because we wanted to create something for us. Like, we're gonna write this clothing if we don't have to write our team clothing anymore. So that was the basic idea what we had, and now we're actually becoming like, many are actually now ex-teammates also have the clothing from us, are buying. Of course, they cannot write it because they are under the contract, but still they appreciate what we're doing, and it's a quite nice satisfaction as well.
Also for us, like the possibilities to promote the clothing were really limited for us, because as a pro cyclist you are contracted to your cycling clothing sponsor, and you always have to wear the cycling clothing of the team cycling clothing. So we couldn't really go and promote ourselves in our own clothing. So it was funny from like, I think it still is like that a lot of people just think, we are the faces, paid faces behind this brand, and but then when you start replying emails to people, and either it's customers or your partners, and or you visit them, and then you tell them the story about like how we do things, and they kind of really surprised.
And so it seems like you more jumped into it without like knowing how your business plan will look like and stuff. Did you ever write in like a page of a business plan, or any kind of forecasting of your finances?
I don't think we knew what the business plan is when we started, so we went head on. Like I like the work on a product to be more. I was the more creative part of the team, and Peter was the more business-like part.
Actually, there was never really idea, like Martin said, we had no idea what was business plan. We were kind of like, yeah, let's do that. It should be fun, so we're gonna try it. And then we start to, even the best example is like how we called our company. So then, because we knew, okay, we need to create a company, then we can have a brand, right? So okay, we create a company, we call it Real the Cycle Feel, And I was like, because we were so creative by creating this name, but now, 4 years afterwards, you realize, like, when whoever lady in a post office or some office, try to spell the name, in the phone, it's getting quite complicated, to tell a real deal cycle feel, so it's getting sometimes messy.
I mean, there is a lot of things that you would quite do differently, now, after 3-4 years when we started, but at the same time, I think with all the enthusiasm we had and all that, like really going head on, I think it also had its charm, I would say.
And then maybe going back to the name, how was the brainstorming process working? What is actually Isadore? Is it a made-up name, or does it have a meaning?
There's another funny story. Like we actually had another name for the brand, and then someone, and the logo was actually ready and everything, and someone just told us, okay, like how about checking if the name is not already taken as a trademark. Of course, it was taken, so we really had to come up pretty quickly with another name, and like after a couple of, I think, even weeks, we really started to be almost desperate, like what are we going to call it, because nothing really, stick. And then it was like, Incubus, the band. We listened to one of the albums at the time, and there was one song which called Isadore, or part of the name was Isadore, and we said, okay, this looks good and kind of sounds good, even if it's a little bit harder to really pronounce or spell. And but the trademark wasn't taken this time, and then it kind of stuck.
But like, does it have any like meaning, or just like the song? Or what was the song about? Is it something negative, positive? Or?
I think it's a pretty positive song, and then when we started to check Wikipedia, like where does it come from? The word it's from ancient Greek. It was a mythology. This gift from a god of Isis. So.
Yeah. Okay, and then what was next? So you still kind of wrapping up your career, and when did you start seeing the first success? That, okay, this is going to make sense, and this is our business. Like we are on it 100%.
Actually, the first small success what I was talking about was the first day we launched the website. It was the 15th of May. I remember we were on a training, of course, we were still active, and I remember like when I knew that the website was active from 10 o'clock, I was refreshing my emails all the time to get a notification of some order or anything, and the first success came that we had actually the first order the first day, so that was like, we were so happy. I know I will never forget this moment, that on a training we get like, hey Martin, we got the order. So it's a big thing for us, because you created something which you never tried before, and you have a customer who bought your thing, you know. So it's really something special, and that gave us the motivation, and you know, and of course then it starts to grow, and there is like I said, there is small successes coming, you know, regularly almost.
And that leads me to another question. So you had a first order. Did you have the product ready, or you had to go back to the factory?
No. We like an e-commerce business. We have to have the products ready.
So you had some kind of first batch of products.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So then, maybe you can describe us a little bit of your logistics and the production background, how it works, because actually they make their own and design their own products. So maybe you can take us through that.
So we started to do the hard way. Like we would come to the manufacturer and we say, okay, this is going to be our source of the fabrics. This is going to be our source of the zippers. And that business, of course, we start to learn along the way because we launched the website middle of May. But before that, it was I think more than half a year of developing the product. So what we do, we source all our materials, all the inputs for the products by ourselves. We have it in our warehouse, and we deliver this to the producer to put it together. So actually, not only the design, but also the development of the product is made by us. So this is the process from the very beginning, and it's still until now.
Where do you get the inspiration from to build new products? Do you follow like global trends in cycling, or you kind of go your own way of building that?
The inspiration can come from anywhere. Like it was really easy for me to, with the cycling career, you travel all around the world, you watch people, and you really just sitting in the airport and you see this little detail on someone else's jacket, and then you try to remember it or write it down. So like from the beginning, I start to fill up my slide files, like with images or with the quotes or whatever. So and then of course, like now you have Instagram, you have Pinterest. Then another thing is the other way around, that you see really interesting fabric from one of your suppliers, and then then you start to think, what can I do with this fabric, which is brand new and which is cutting edge technology fabric, or with the performance, what it can do, and then you start to think, okay, like what I as a cyclist might need in my closet. So it can come from any sources.
You have apparel in your name. What else except jerseys and you call it lycra?
Yeah.
Lycra.
Shorts, yeah. So actually, you get all the products which you need for the bike. From the socks, from the bib short jerseys. You have long sleeve jerseys. You have jackets. You have vests. You have caps. You have gloves. So you can actually go all around on the bike in Isadore. And now with this year we slightly touch on we call it like the urban line. That means like for the people who commute on the bikes to the work. So it doesn't necessarily be that they need to go on a weekend for 3 or 5 hours ride on a bicycle, but they go to the work, they go on a bike. And that's the line what we have, just t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, and we have jeans, we have shorts. But it was only like I would say like a test project. We were just testing the waters there, and we kind of have more plans in the future in that.
How do you communicate these products to the customers? What is your marketing strategy? What channels you use? And you can also tell us what channels did not work, or where you kind of failed.
Like from the beginning, it was really based a lot on the intuition. Like what do we want to communicate? We basically communicated what we are. We still do, and what we want to. How we want to touch people, so that means like we want the people to be inspired to explore on the bikes, and we want to provide them with the best possible clothing that we can make. So we are not, again, that comes back to what Peter was saying, like we have a 10-11 years professional careers behind us. We had enough of that you had the pressure to perform, you had the pressure to reach this put out of watts, and you had enough of the pressure to climb as fast as possible or sprint as fast as you can. So on the other hand, we wanted to also enjoy cycling, and to see things around, because in a race it's not possible. So this is what we communicate from the beginning, and this is what we really stick from. And from the beginning, it was really just the intuition, like how we said it, and only afterwards we actually realized, okay, what are we actually doing? We can actually now really tell about it, or we actually sense like why are we doing this? So now we try to communicate the story.
Because actually the whole marketing is built on the content what we're creating, and the whole photo shoots what we do, we always try to find a special place where we do the photo shoot, because when you go in Slovakia, you can go on really nice roads into the nature, and you can make really nice photo shooting on our products. But we trying to find really good places to inspire the people. Like, look, there is not only on your background you can go cycle, but you can go to Lofoten in Norway, you can go to Iceland, you can go to Makarska in Croatia. So there are so many nice places where you can go, and we're trying to tell these people, not only show the product, but also tell them with these stories what we bring. And actually, this content we distribute it over the social media and Google, of course.
Would you say that online is the strongest way how to sell? Do you have also any other channels that you can tell us your distribution, how you work with, and how do you sell?
Yes, we do have three channels, three sales channels. Online is the strongest, it's like 60% of the whole revenues. Then we have the retail partners, which is now probably around 25 the number. And then we have another big e-commerce business where who is kind of like a distributor for us. That's the Wiggle, it's a British company. And so these are the three channels, but for us, of course, the most important is the online, where we kind of can really bring the experience also with the product along.
And we still want to see ourselves as an e-commerce brand.
But we also see the importance of the retail partners, because the people, when it's brand new brand, they need to see the product, they need to touch it, they need to try it a lot of times before they buy it. So for us, it's also important to be in the normal shops, I would say. And that's the model what we're working on. But there is still place to improve.
What is interesting about you guys is that they were selling from day one on a global level, basically, and we had a little discussion before. Sometimes you had some products from the States, you didn't know why and how. How is that to cope, like kind of the international, maybe the logistics? How is it to build the company on international? Do you see any problems there or opportunities?
I mean, like
the thing is, like we never really think of like, okay, we're gonna do the cycling jerseys or the cycling clothing brand, and we're just gonna focus on Slovakia for the local market. Like there was never the question. Like we always wanted to do a product or a brand or a website that will be available wherever.
And that's why actually the website was already in more languages right from the beginning. We had English. I think German was following right after that. So we had the language mutations right from the beginning, because, like Martin said, there was never really the point like, okay, once we big in Slovakia or we reach the potential of the market, then we move to another one. No, that was never really the question. And of course, it's kind of like the countries like Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and other big countries in Europe. You kind of you go there. We selling to the Germany is the biggest market for us. But of course, like with our size, there is no way we're reaching any potential there at all. So you don't really go to, or our strategy is not really like we go to the country, and once we reach the potential, okay, we go to another. We kind of have, we covering every, also the communication what we do, we communicate to all the countries in Europe, and we selling to all the countries. And of course with logistics then comes sometimes the problems. It's not that easy, but of course it's also some learning process when you learn how to be efficient, how to have the happy customers as well, that they're not waiting 2 weeks for some delivery because your shipping is really cheap. So there is always finding the balance between. And then of course there are the countries that are outside Europe, like US or Asia, and this is actually still not really on our radar, or it was not, because of the shipping.
Did you have any orders from Asia already?
Yes, we do, of course.
Since there are now several players maybe in this field, I mean, it's not sports cycling, but it's maybe urban cycling clothing. One of the strongest players is Rafa in this field. How do you think like you can compete with these kind of larger players? I mean, what is your selling point compared to them?
The cycling clothing market right now, like since Rafa came and they created this kind of a segment of maybe fashion or designers or cycling clothing, then like right now we are looking at what maybe 30-40 cycling brands that compete in this segment, and so this is something what we also sensed as there is opportunity for this, because we started to see the change in people, like how they ride a bike and how they want to look like and what they wear. So from the beginning was like to offer another alternative, to offer our point of view on the how the cycling clothing should look like according to us. So what we can offer is, I think, the story behind it. That means is us too. Either developing the product or working on a brand, and with that comes what we learn along the way in terms of product and everything else.
Do you know about each other? Like Rafa?
I was in Australia, and then I was just in Melbourne, just checking out some shops and talking to the local guys there, and I met with the CEO of Rafa at one of the shops there, so yeah, we had a little chat, and it was nice.
Did you know about Isadore?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I didn't ask you a question. How many cyclists or like cycling fans do you have here in the audience? Anybody recognizes these kind of brands? Okay. I mean, quite a fair group.
Actually, there's another thing, pretty cool one. Someone sent us the survey Rafa does every year. And so, of course, one of the questions like, what are the other products you buy? And among the brands, we were also among the brands. So it was quite...
It was a small victory for us.
Good. Maybe now, from the international world going back, you keep the production in Slovakia, in Makita factory. How do you think that, and you also try to be very socially responsible as the products you make, how is that taken? Well, I mean, how is that part of your philosophy of building a business, the social impact, like keeping the, not producing it somewhere in China, or like keeping it locally? How is that important to you?
I think like when we started, it wasn't really. It was actually something necessary to do. Like we knew we had it there, right around the corner. The factory. So why not try to do it, locally? And there was never really ambition to do it in Asia and to big quantities and for cheap or whatever. And also with the business model we had, and with that also comes along the people in the community, like they knew us that we are the cyclists, but they also know us now that we are one of the people that actually filling orders in Makita. So basically almost like giving a job providing a job in the community. So and then it comes with also another products that we try to produce them as locally as possible, as close as possible, because on one hand it's convenient, and on the other hand it's something we believe it's right to do.
Do you have anything like, not else, but you said you also contribute to some charities, so this plays quite an important role to be socially responsible. Do you think that when growing the business, and you had some significant growth in the last year, I checked the stat. So, do you think that if you keep this kind of growth, that we'll be able to keep the production in Slovakia? Because again, China has some, or like Asia has some perks or benefits of producing. Will you still keep it?
Yeah, I think like of course the resources we have in hometown or in the Czech Republic, in Slovakia, it's not, what's possible. So we of course we're looking already now, like, because already last year, the end of last year and this year, we needed to produce also somewhere else in Makita, but we still stay in Europe. So we go to Italian company which produces Romania, and now we starting to work with the producer in Lithuania. So there's not really a desire or strategy to go to Asia, and actually not to say like it's bad to produce in Asia or whatever. That's not what we're saying, and I think even you can still produce in Asia, which is sustainable and which is ethically correct if you find the right partner. So, but it somehow from we stick to the strategy to stay as close as possible. We're staying as close as possible to our end markets, which is we're staying as close as possible to the place where we develop everything. So it's easier to fly to Italy or Romania or to Lithuania if you need to. So I think it's right to do in terms of ethical, but it's also economically. I think in the state we are now, it's good.
How big is your team at the moment? How many people do you employ?
Now we are 10 people and a dog, so it's still a small team, and the problem we're running now, it's kind of, we are on a place which is whatever 200 meters square big, and of course in this place we need to put in 10 people and the dog and the product, so it's not that easy. And we're pretty sure, like, when we have more space, we need to hire another people. But at the moment, we still need to wait. So, like I said, it really started with the mom, and then was growing more and more people. And actually, this year we grow a lot with the people. And as I said, we probably need much more people, but we have some limitations at the moment.
Do you currently feel like you have any other struggles outside having the space issues, but what are currently kind of the biggest bottlenecks that
I think it's maybe the struggle, but it's with the small problems you have, it's either in production or it's either in finding the right people for whatever position you need to fill. So I think everyone who has a business or starting business or a growing business has these problems, but it's not something that we see as a problem. We see as a challenges, and it's fun to do.
I think when you have a business and you feel like everything is so good, you have no problem, then you have a big problem.
Maybe could you share any kind of one example where it's like, oh my God, what did I do? It's like the kind of moment. This was
I think there's like two kind of fuck ups you can do. Like you lose money directly, that you can see you ordered the wrong stuff or wrong fabric or just something that you oversaw or didn't do just quite right, and you can see on the balance sheet, okay, this is a write-off. That's one kind of problems, but then another kind of problems which actually I don't like much more is that when you don't use the full potential of what you could do, like you didn't pay attention to something, and then you realize, okay, this actually ended in a lost sales, and you're never gonna know how much sales you lost or how much money you lost because you didn't pay attention to something.
Because that's a really good example, like what Martin is saying. We started this year. We had some plan what we would like to, how fast we would like to grow. We actually had the products ready, and we started from the beginning of the year. Of course, January, February are not really strong months for cycling. And I was kind of checking the numbers, and I said, okay, the spend on the marketing is actually lower than we had last year, and we're growing 15%. I was like, yeah, this is not so bad actually, right? Then we come to the March, when March is also it start to get people start to wake up from the winter and start to ride the bikes. So then we start to feel also the sales. But the sales were not really coming. They were again coming on 15%, and our projection was to grow 60 to 70% this year. So I was like, oh, okay, this doesn't feel right anymore, And that was actually the mistake what we did, or I did it because it was my responsibility. That we had a plan that we need to grow this month. I was happy that the marketing spend was not that big, was good, but that the sales were not that good as well, right? So actually this was the problem, and you know when you waste 3 months of the year, it's kind of hard to catch up again. You know.
Yeah, especially e-commerce is kind of like season, summer season, lower season.
It's like for us the most important is the spring summer. When we launch the collection, so that means like spring summer collection and autumn winter collection. And you know like these months, it's like from March till May, and then from September till November are really important for us. And you know like when you're not really good or you have lower percentage of growth than you're expecting, then it's really hard to catch up then again.
Maybe another question, like how was maybe you can describe in a couple sentences, how was your year, 2017, very happy with it? And maybe what would you improve, and what do you think 2018 will look like? Or what are the milestones for 2018?
If I can wrap up the whole year, I mean, it was a good year when we look at how many mistakes we did. Because now when we're looking back and like from like what I said from the marketing spend on the beginning, with some products, we launched the collection and we're missing some products. So there were so many mistakes we did, and we still can be happy how the whole year went. And now we know like okay, we already have a paper, or we have a file where we put like the winning moves, what we did really good, and then what went wrong things, you know. So we have already on a paper like okay, this was really good what we done this year, and maybe also the other years. And this was really bad, we cannot repeat next year. So we kind of have it on the paper, and now it's really like, okay, we did this in 2017, it cannot happen again. So I think it was an important year for us. It was really good that we learned a lot of new things, and we need to look on some stuff differently. But I guess we needed to go through this.
And what do you think, any milestones for 2018? Want to enter new markets?
There is one big project that we already started to work this year, and it's to find a fulfillment partner in the US. We found it. We will be shipping out the first container of our products next week to the US. So it's going to take some time, you know, to fill the warehouse there and start to filling orders in the US. But by early 2018, we should be able to fill our first order in the US, and then we really want to start focusing on the US market and spending some money on the marketing there, and see what is the true potential of that country. Because even now, like it's spending zero money on the marketing in the US. Just by, I don't even know how the people found out about us. It's the 7th or 8th country by sales. So that will be one really interesting story.
E-commerce, well, some people call it startups, you know, I mean, they're very closely related to technology. Do you follow the trends also in technology, how they can improve your business? And if so, what do you think are the technologies that can disrupt you or help you out?
I mean, when like we said, like Martin he's the guy with the product and production. But you know, like my always dream, and Martin is totally all thinking about it all the time. My dream into the future is really because, you know, when you look at mostly all the business or all the industries you have, only the textile industry is the less automated industry in the world, because there is still the women or whoever, you just, you know, putting the fabrics together and sewing together. There is no really like machine or automate or anything who is helping the person there. There are some improvements, but there is not like, you know, almost the whole car can be made by the robots, right? So, but in a textile, it's still they're like 50 years backwards, you know, to compare to another industry. So that's kind of like my small dream, like one day when it's going to be really far enough to be really producing, or the people will be still doing it because the person still need to be involved, of course, but there will be much more help than, you know, just the women doing all the work, what is necessary for the jersey. And of course, like for the e-commerce, there are so many tools you can use. And to be honest, I cannot say like we know already everything. You know, we still learning so many new stuff. And also this small, like, I don't know if you guys know TransferWise. You know, we use it a lot, and it's a great tool where you can, you know, because when you're dealing with the different companies with different currencies, you know how ineffective with the bank it can be. So this is really some of the examples like what we implement into the company and we're using, because it's progressive, it's really something which completely disrupt the industry in this segment. So we're trying to look for these tools, but I cannot say like we know already everything and we always on the top of the game.
The thing is like from my side, it's always as a company in general, we try to do things on a daily basis as most effective as we can, and then the other thing is like to find again also on an almost daily basis, but to bring in bigger projects to do like really bigger improvements. That means like we have to try a lot of stuff. Not everything is going to work out always, but those that work out are really going to make our life easier. And then it's like, and then the third thing is like the more visionary. What was Peter talking about, like becoming of the automatization of the textile industry, the seaboards, or we try to, if like we don't really have the resources or to the time to do it, but we try to at least talk about like how it's gonna the cycling clothing or the riding your bike in general look like in 20, 30, 50 years, like what the people might need, like when when the cars will be self or driverless, and if with all these transportation changes that coming in, with the changes that coming in the textile industry, means coming with the wearables and the new materials. So this is something we try to talk about at least, and not to really predict the future, but to at least dream. So this is I think the three kind of the innovation segments that we try to do on a daily basis.
It would be good to see a driverless bicycle. Yeah, it's like they up the hill automatically.
I think the first step is also the engine in a bicycle. It's coming. It's coming.
It was recently in Tour de France that somebody had, or like I think there was somewhere that was caught with an engine, like the little motor.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're talking about the mechanical doping as well. It's still kind of hard to traceable because they need to bring X-ray on every race, which is not that easy, right? But it's normal that now the bike producers, like the last example is Pinarello, they brought the bike with the engine built in, which is, it's not, of course, not a huge engine, but it gives you whatever 50, 60 watts, and that's a lot, of course.
And you can't really see the difference between a normal bike and the e-bike. So this is all things that we talk about, and we try to figure out also how this is gonna change the industry, or how this is gonna change the cycling clothing industry. Are the people gonna need more protection because they're gonna ride faster, or all these kind of things.
Maybe some wearables like connected shirts or something, because even the how is it in English? The gear, they are wireless these days as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you already have a jacket where you can from Levi's and together with Google, and they work for like a year on a jacket, and they just release it like that. You can connect with your phone, and you can pick up calls, you can skip a song, you can ask for a direction without pulling out the phone out of your pocket. So it's everything almost reality, and it's really interesting industry. Which way is on?
It was a bit of off topic, but I really got excited. So, what is my next question? Okay, I think maybe we can wrap up because I also want to give some time to the questions that you guys asked. And maybe now going more personal life. What are your outside hobbies of your maybe cycling and your business? What do you do in your free time? How's your daily life?
I think with cycling it's going to go back to our roots, like why we really started to ride bikes. So now we're really going to just ride bike to see places, to feel the freedom again. You're not going to be pushed by your team or whatever to perform.
Don't you miss it a bit, like the team kind of?
Not at all. No? I mean, like it was really. I must say, like it was a nice part of life. It was really grateful. But I'm not going to miss to stand on the start line somewhere in the rain, and you know that you have 200 other psychopaths behind you. So it was it was a nice part of the life, and it was great. And it's time to move on.
Exactly. And I mean, you know, like Martin said, it's really good to, you know, enjoy the cycling again, you know, to look at it a different way, and we're surely looking forward to that. And of course, you know, we're trying to spend, or you finally have the time to spend the time with your family, which is also something what we didn't enjoy so much in the last years. So I think the timing was just right. You know, everything changed, the whole changes, and like Martin said, no one is really sad, no one is really crying into the pillow every night because we stopped the careers, and there is so many stuff ahead of us. We're really looking forward.
Do you maybe have also some other projects outside of Isadore, or is this the main focus at the moment?
Not at all. We wake up with the Isadore in the head, and then we go to sleep. You know? So there is really actually quite empty, or I mean, you know, that we don't really have any interesting hobbies right now, or we're really focusing entirely on this thing. And,
I mean, I have like a accommodation business, I would say. But the thing is, like, we learn really quickly, like, with the whole family, because my girlfriend and my father is also involved in this business, and we kind of learn really quickly that this is not the business we would like to be involved. And it's also kind of like, you know, when you start in a company, it's really hard. We know how it is to divide the time, you know, between when we had the careers. That was a little bit different because you know that was your what was giving the food on your table, you know. And now, you know, when you're starting a company and starting another company to it can be really challenging, you know. So, you know, this is kind of another project what I have, and it's kind of like I said, we realize, I don't want to say it's fail. It's a really good experience, but we kind of getting out of it. So I think that's another thing what we actually still involved, but we're trying to get off and really focus on one thing, because that's also really important, just to stay focused on one thing.
How about startups? Do you follow the startup community? Do you follow maybe, you know, you're multidisciplinary, so you know this kind of startup house, but do you follow any startups, local startups?
Like not like totally like that we would be involved or watch it really closely, but of course you every now and then pops up something in your social media that this is the thing of Slovakia, and really interesting stuff is happening here. So it's really interesting to read and you know to know about.
I mean, it's really great to see like the community is growing also here, you know, and then it's some of the projects are really good, and then they're kind of like there is many projects, I believe, like people doesn't really know about in Slovakia, which is really good because you can already say that they totally focus globally or growing abroad. But on the other hand, I mean, I want to say like it's really good that these people coming into this and really trying, not their luck, but they're trying to use their experience, their skills to build something. But on the other hand, sometimes I have the feeling like it's super modern and super fancy to call yourself, I'm a startup, you know, and I'm going to build something and I have an exit strategy already, but you have no clue what you're actually doing, you know. So, I mean, it's really good to have a dreams, it's really good to work on something, but I mean, sometimes some people maybe get too excited about already what's going to happen after, you know, 5-10 years when they lying on the beach somewhere with the full bank, you know. And that's not really what maybe is healthy for the business and for the building. I believe the more people who really take it seriously and trying to use all their skills what they have to build something, I really hope there is more people like this. But you know, I also have sometimes the feeling like these people with a great, super exciting exit strategy are here as well.
I think this is a great place to be, because this is why we want to hear stories how not easy it is, you know, to grow a business from scratch. So before we wrap up, because it's 7:54 already, I'll take some questions out of Slido. I'll move it here, so I'll read it out. Okay, so the first one. What do you think is harder? It's harder being cycling pro or being an entrepreneur? It's a good one.
I think it's really similar. It's on some ways it's almost the same, you know, because I remember like some days you you go to your bed and you sleep like a baby, and I was just sitting in the office, right? And sometimes like you do 5 hours on the bike and you don't feel so tired. So like it's almost the same, but it's totally different, I would say. Because it's hard in ways. It has some really similar things, like we already said, like these ups and downs all the time, which kind of like makes you tired emotionally, of course. And then you know, it has some advantages because you sit on a bike and you can switch off your head almost, and then you just ride your bike. And in a business, you don't have so much physical activity. You don't get tired. You don't feel sore muscles or anything, but still you can get tired as well. So it's really hard to. It's really different, but in some ways almost exactly the same. So.
And what do you enjoy more? Or what do you enjoy more?
I think the both lives, I would say, were really good. Like Martin said, we totally grateful about the cycling careers we have, because we did all the big races, what we always would like to do. We kind of achieved our goals, what we had.
And cycling was really good to us.
Yeah, exactly.
We never had any big injuries, or we had really nice careers riding for the biggest teams in the world, biggest races. So there's nothing we reached our full potential as athletes. There isn't really anything else to achieve for us.
And now we actually feel like with the business, we feel like again the kids who were flying to South Africa, you know, like which was everything was so new, we had no clue what we all was doing, and
we jumped into it.
Exactly. Yeah. So we kind of have again this feeling in a business like, wow, it's so exciting and every day is something different. There is so many goals ahead of us. Like at that time, we said like, yeah, that would be so nice to ride the Tour de France one day, and we have the same dreams now in a business as well. So it's I think we have the same emotions about the both worlds, you know, but of course it's really different.
Yeah. What are the advantages or disadvantages of of your company being based in Slovakia? Any government people here? No? Okay, good. Good, you can go.
I mean, to be honest, like we cannot really complain that much, you know, because of course there are some taxes, there is a lot of bureaucracy and stuff like this, but I guess you get it on other places as well, you know. And to be honest, like we never really had a big trouble with the Slovak country or anything, you know. So I cannot really complain or anything. Of course, it has some advantages that we have really talented people here in Slovakia, and which kind of are still undiscovered, you know, I would say, because when you're based in the UK or anything, then you know finding really good people can be really difficult. So this, I would say, that's a big advantage in Slovakia, and of course, disadvantage is like the market is not that big. Of course, there is some limitations, and well.
Yeah, I think we cannot really use the advantage of a local market for our product, because there is only this much people in Slovakia. We are that good feel that they rather buy Slovakian product. So that's why we also had to sell. Or we have to be to have the global orientation of our business. So this is maybe the only one disadvantage that we feel that if you start as a German brand or English brand or in the US, then you might get a little head start by people buying rather your product because you are local than someone else's.
And I think that like people pursue you as an international brand. Like, I don't think many of your customers know that you're from Slovakia. So I mean, I think that also kind of it's not like they didn't take you as an Eastern European company. So
maybe we learn pretty quickly how to fake it till we make it.
Yeah.
No, I mean we want like the dream was, or the vision is always to make a world-class product, to build a world-class brand, and so. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where you're coming from.
All right. What's the other question? Do you remember the first piece you produced?
It was a whole collection actually. It was collection. You had summer collection. You had the big shorts. You had I think 2 or 3 short sleeve styles, short sleeve styles, 1 long sleeve. So you had socks. in base layers also, so you kind of could, you know, had a whole kit from Isadore.
It was very basic collection. It wasn't really wide, or there was no really such a big collection of colors you could choose on. But it was okay collection to start off and to try how it's gonna work. So yeah. But I remember when I can turn the question a little bit. I remember the first product we sold. That was the one on the training. That was the big shots. That was the first product we sold, and you know that's what I'm gonna remember.
You guys make it also. Did you sue it or? Like you know, prototype. You have to make some kind of prototype.
No, with this one we didn't go that far.
I mean, I already understand more the language when the people talk from the production, but it would be interesting to try to sew together something.
Get the hands on the spirit. Yeah.
I'm fine without it.
All right, next one. Which country do you have the biggest revenue in? Where do you see the biggest potential markets?
For us, the biggest is Germany, or when we say the German-speaking countries. So we have Germany. Second is Austria. That was growing really fast this year. Switzerland is also strong, and then the big potential is US definitely, because that's what we're gonna focus next year as well. And yeah, you know, the market is huge, and there is the big potential, of course.
All right. What did you bring from the Peloton know-how to Isadore clothing? What's your signature?
The know-how that we are wearing the cycling clothing for most of our lives, so we knew when something works and when something didn't work, or what should you pay attention to when you're wearing a bib shorts or a jersey. So when we developed, I could test, of course, like secretly. So I could feel like, okay, this doesn't fit very well, or the bibs, you know, the stitching should go another way, otherwise it's going to cause trouble later on. So this is the know-how, the years of experience wearing different clothing, different brands, and then what is our signature? Like the signature is my or our aesthetic point of view, and that means like we're not someone who show off, or we're quite introverted, so it's really the subtle and subtle colors, understated colors, and then on the other hand we try to question with every product. We try to question the patterns of the products that people are used to wear. So what if we try to go with the stitching this way, not that way? So this is what we always try to do and to see how it works. And then it's even if it's a cutting edge materials that we wanna offer, they still have to perform really well. They still have to perform either if you ride 1 hour or 5 hours. So they need to feel natural, they need to look natural, but they have to be like 100% performing materials.
Next question. How do you see the environment infrastructure for cyclists in general in Slovakia? Are you planning to get involved to improve it?
Yeah, I mean the infrastructure is, well, there is no infrastructure, I would say, or at least not in Bratislava, or I mean outside of Bratislava. I don't know really if there in Bratislava is some. And yeah, well, this is kind of bigger question to answer, and it's not really us who can answer this. But from our experience, when we still used to be professional cyclists, I think a lot of change. I remember like when we used to be the kids, you know, when we used to be 15, 16 years old, there were so many drivers we didn't really care about cycling on the road, you know, and they saw there was like small guys and they passed you like 5 centimeters from your handlebars, and you know, it's not really a good feeling, like whoever rides the bike knows how it feels. So, but this kind of improved, because I think people kind of realize like, okay, here is Peter Sagan, there are some Velits brothers, there are some professional riders riding in this country or actually coming from this country, and they realize like, and also more people coming into the cycling, and maybe it's kind of changing the environment of the whole traffic in Slovakia, that the people still, or they look on the cyclists like, okay, there is some cyclists and they are part of the traffic as well. So I think this improved, at least a bit. But okay, the infrastructure, well, I don't think so.
I guess it's to get more popular. Maybe Peter said I should get a yellow jersey, huh? All right. I have a sign that we're almost out of the time, but I would like to take maybe 1-2 questions. So what does Isadore mean we had that? So I'll skip that. How many hours or kilometers a day we're cycling on average for the pro?
The average we had to do between 25,000 to 30,000 kilometers per year. So then you divide it.
Who's reaching that here? Huh? Everybody? Huh? Okay, you got some work. All right, and the last one. Where was it? Brand building. Okay, we're thinking of doing more events as part of brand building, and this is what we discussed as well. Rafa is pretty strong with this. Like, do you think this is the way, community?
I think definitely yes, because we actually do it already now. The retail partners we have in Europe, they're doing their ride with the community. And one partner we have in Copenhagen, they're pretty strong in this, and there's always like 50-60 people showing up. So we always ride with them, and it's a really good experience to riding with your customers.
This year we did Copenhagen, we did Amsterdam, we did Seoul in South Korea, so it's also a nice way for us to explore the cities we were many times in, but maybe just at the airport or on your way from hotel to the airport, and now you can see a totally different side of the city. So this is something also interesting for us, and it's something really good. As the question says, like the part of the brand building.
And any events expected here in Bratislava or around?
Well, we did actually one event in Bratislava in October.
I think it was October. We did one ride which was kind of a testing event, like let's see how it's gonna work. It was raining, it was really bad weather, but still, whatever, I think it was like 30 or 40 people show up, so that was really good. And to be honest, I really enjoyed it, even it was windy and a little bit rain and stuff like this. But it was really good, and I think as a Slovak brand, it should be mandatory to do these rides as well.
Yeah. And I think we're all looking forward to some rides. So I think that's how we wrap up. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Please, round of applause.